Hello and welcome back to the channel. Just doing a really short video. Just try to, if you've got a good memory, you should remember this. So I shouldn't have to, you know, tell you what's going on in the sphere now. But I say good memory is just recent memory, okay? But I am going to look it up. I'm in YouTube. Um, Box office projection. Superman. All right, Superman's box office projections. All right, James Gunn's last second weekend box office projection. We're not gonna look at that. Early projections. Okay, so we're gonna click on this thing, and I don't know uh, who it is or what they're saying. Okay, hold my Dual Shock. It's a reference to a controller, right? Anyway, sorry, I'm just kind of looking past my camera to get this. So, what we're going to do, you saw in recent days the projections for Superman and the comparisons between Superman 2025 James Gunn Superman and Man of Steel. And you've heard the fight, I'm sure. I'm just sure if you're watching this, hopefully you have seen this. I I am not um I'm not going to argue a lot with that. I gave some numbers the other day of just how I see that the tickets sales are less and less by a lot. Comic Book Movie put out a story about the loss of over half the audience that was going to see Man of Steel. That's worldwide, sure, but it's true that a big portion, I believe it's true, a big portion, as I showed in the video the other day about the numbers, that the box office in America is lower than they've estimated. They estimated based on an $11 ticket. Now, I don't know who has an $11 ticket. Matinee prices in my area are $13.50 or so. Okay, and a regular ticket price is nearly $19 or more. 40X is around 27, and stuff like that. So those are, general ticket prices. Maybe you average in the people that watch movies for $0, standard movies, and then do an upgrade charge. $5 or $4 for IMAX or RPX, or $8 and something cents for the 40Xs. Uh, so maybe you do that. But the predictions is what I'm getting into here. The predictions for the box office of um, Superman, early box office predictions are huge. And let's see if we can get some volume.
Kind of unbelievable. Just a little bit.
The numbers are unbelievably good.
So right now it says the box office tracking and forecast will Superman 154 million to 175 million soar to 2025's best opening, potential milestones for DC and James Gunn.
So, just as a person who loves going to the theater, I hope all these films make a lot of money. But I do think it's interesting that leading up to this film, like for about a year, we talked about it, and it was always about how it was going to be the best Superman movie ever, right? Like that was what you would hear. The pushback against any concerns was, "Is going to be the best Superman movie ever." Now the conversation has shifted to, "It's going to make a lot of money." Like I don't know if anybody else has noticed, there's like that weird shift of the people that were before saying that it was going to be the best Superman film ever have now just shifted to, well, it's going to make a lot of money. I think that that's interesting.
Yes, especially when Superman in general is not a huge, like a massive box office draw. And for these tracking numbers, for 154 million to 175 million opening weekend, domestic, by the way.
I don't believe it.
Now it would be completely different if that was like the overall weekend, like international. I could even say like maybe that could be their opening. But for just domestic, So it says James Gunn's Superman is positioned as one of this summer's marquee temples with a mid-July date
That
that's housed
number
multiple
again.
franchise mega performers in recent years. For DC and James Gunn.
So, just as a
175.
154 million to 175 million. Now, as the weeks approach, I'm not going to be able to find this stuff. The box office, they kept saying, "Oh, we're going to down. We're going to drop it a little bit. 125 million. And they guessed around a whole bunch of different places, and finally came up to where they are. I don't know if that it made that much anyway, because I went to the first screening on Tuesday. That was supposed to be sold out by Fandango and Prime. You go look up the record. They broke records. They sold out in minutes, and they crashed all the websites, and they were sold out. And yeah, uh, it it it. Leading up to it, I went to the website and was looking at Prime and that, and saying, "Let me see the opportunity and so forth, when it's going to happen, um, and all that." I'm talking about after they opened it up, and and they wouldn't show. They wouldn't show anything. Like normally, you can go to a theater, you click on the theater, and it'll show you whether or not, even if it's a sold out theater, it'll show you that they're all sold out. It won't let you purchase anything, obviously, but it wouldn't even show me this theater. And when I went into the theater though, and said, "Okay, well, I'm gonna sit down here and watch this movie," and I'm looking around, I'm like, where is everybody? It's like a third full. A third, if that. Okay, the pre screening. And when I went to my theater, where I bought tickets on for the first day, the Thursday, first coming out, I went to that, and I was like, okay. And I looked, and the regular screenings, like I said, they'll show up, and it was showing all these people they're going to be sitting to our right and to our left and behind us. They were going to be lined up. Everywhere was surrounded around us. Everywhere. I mean, it was sold out in our little section. It was sold out for 4 or 5 rows next to us, and then it kept on, having more and more blank seats showing up on the ticket sellers place, right? So I saw all that, and I was like, okay, we're gonna, be around a bunch of people. When I went in, sat down with my son, we watched the movie, and looked over beside us. There's nobody down that way, and looked behind us, and there was less people behind us than what the ticket master thing was showing, or the ticket seller was showing. And in front of us, and over to the side, and it was half as full as it was showing that it should have been. So again, I don't know that it even made that money accurately. I don't know if people bought tickets, just didn't go, just to buy tickets and support a movie. Um, that doesn't make much sense to me, because I'm talking about the $25, $30 tickets that we're talking about. So, there could be some fudging of the numbers. It's been going on at least since Captain Marvel, right? Y'all know about that. I'm certain you go look it up if you haven't. But that's what's going on. So they went high. These predictions are going to be great, and some people claim that this movie is going to make $2 billion. People were claiming up around this time, oh, it's going to make over $1 billion. It's going to make all this money. Well, we're going to check out of this thing, and I'm going to go back. Since the comparison has been Man of Steel versus Superman. Man of Steel was not a success and didn't make enough money, and the studio was disappointed in it all and stuff like that. And then the comparison keeps being made by the gun crowd that, oh, we've exceeded the Superman and the Batman v Superman movies in domestic sales. And they refuse to count inflation, which they used to do all the time when discussing these things. And yes, John Campea, I watched you uh, talk about inflation all the time back in the days of AMC and stuff like that. I learned some of my information from you about that and about how to calculate a box office success. So stop with that nonsense. I'm talking to him directly as if he was listening to me. But seriously, coming out now saying, "Oh, well, it never was a thing to look at the box office and adjust for inflation and things like that." Well, that's just not true. But we're gonna look at Grace Randolph. She does the movie math and stuff like that. We're gonna look over here, back to 2013, the week before Superman came out. And what are we going to find out? Let's get the volume down just a little bit, and we'll listen to her here. Pay attention to what she says when the numbers that come up on the screen.
Hollywood is hoping Superman can lift them to new heights this coming weekend, though, with Man of Steel.
But maybe move a little faster. So slow her down a little bit so we can hear it. I thought it was a little bit louder.
Warner Brothers is trying.
Oh, come now. We are interrupted by a Verizon ad. Okay.
By predicting their latest DC height century mark,
Let's
and Iron Man 3
let's
about
go
to cross
back.
the quadruple century mark. Hollywood is hoping Superman can lift them to new heights this coming weekend, though, with Man of Steel. Warner Brothers is trying to manage expectations by predicting their latest DC Comics flick will open with 70 to 80 million.
The week before, they were saying we're projecting 70 to 80 million. And that'll begin the successfulness of that. That will be a good start to Man of Steel. That will be good for us. 70 to 80 million. 70 to 80 million. Okay? So, hear it well.
While industry insiders feel it could open with around 100 to 115 million.
Okay? 100 to 115 million from industry insiders. And if you know what it was, is 116 million and some change, not including Thursday showings, which had a 7 o'clock and a 10 o'clock. Thursday showings at the time had 7 o'clock and 10 o'clock. 7 o'clock and 10 o'clock only. And they were sold out. And when I watched this movie in the theaters Thursday, then Friday, then Saturday and Sunday and Friday, Monday through Friday again, Saturday and Sunday, it was sold out. It was full. And I went to several different theaters to watch this movie in theaters, and several different versions, IMAX and 3D and regular 2D. There's D boxes in a couple of theaters. D-box seats, a few seats seated around the theater. There was not a full theater of 4DX in my area at the time. And there's still limited access right now. There's I think there's only one. I'll have to check the other one, see if there's another one. Just real close by, and then there's some further on down the road. So the more premium, we just didn't have it. Okay, and ticket prices were lower back then. Ticket prices were on average about $8 back then. Now they're about $16. $8 to $10. $10 was what I paid to get into the early screening. $10 to get $100 million is what? Yeah, 10 million tickets sold, right? All right. So it's closer to this industry insider projection, but the Warner Brothers were saying, oh, it's okay here. Now, we didn't really get Warner Brothers' version of what they were projecting. I didn't see it anywhere, so I'm not sure what it was. But this is the week before, and the pre-screenings was 21 million is what I recall. And I believe Grace Randolph points it out at some point here too. But here it is. This is a third weekend for Superman. Just moving over to this. It's number 5. It's behind Monsters University, I think it is, or something like that. There's a couple other movies that are kind of taking over the box office during second and third weeks of Man of Steel. White House Down was out. Oh yeah, that's Z there. Yeah, Monsters University. There's some other stuff being talked about, in the beginning of this. So I'm just jumping to the third weekend. Of course, it's 116 million plus that 21 million on Thursday makes for 137 million dollars. Was the opening weekend, not adjusted for inflation, still is more than 125 million that Superman 2025 is asking for. And I watched as theaters, for whatever reason, just eliminated Man of Steel from their screens. Not because it wasn't doing well, because the ticket sales were up there. And then they eliminated them, and then the ticket sales got a boost. And so the average price per theater went, doubled or tripled or something like that because there was a boost in sales in the first place. People were still wanting to see Man of Steel. And it happened a couple of different times, but they dropped down very fast. Superman currently, I didn't look today, but the last week that I saw it anyway, it had barely dropped 300 or so theaters from a couple of weeks before, and it's just was maintaining it really high at least. I think the last time I looked at it was like 2,600 theaters. Started out, closer to what, 4,000, I believe. But anyway, I'm just trying to put this kind of video out there to say, stop lying to yourself about the projections and theories and stuff like that. Man of Steel made enough, and what Grace Randolph goes to say here is made enough worldwide to warrant, that it has made its money back, and it should have a sequel. It should be going forward and making more. It stayed in the theaters for 90 days or 92 days, one of those two. But it surpassed Thor and Captain America as far as numbers. Now, she doesn't mention anything about, and she's not making a huge deal about this either. But they are pretty close in years. I'm going to look at that real quick. Thor is what, 2010? No, 2011. Which is 2 years before. Inflation for 2 years is not a huge amount. It's not a big difference. And there's been a vast increase in more recent years that was kind of shocking to me. And then it was the Captain America, right? Captain America, the first Avenger. Oh, what year? Yep, 2011 as well. So within 2 years, that number's not going to be much adjusted for inflation. All right, I'd be happy to look at it if you really wanted me to. You can certainly look at it. Just Google 449.3 million 2011 to 2013. Okay, adjusted for inflation. And I can't imagine that it would go much over 500 million, and this wouldn't get to 500 million. So, it's just not. It's not. They're doing pretty close to apples comparison there. Today, you're not. 12 years later is a big difference, and as I showed in my numbers investigation, and just asking Grok what the average price was for movie tickets in America is $16 and some change. It was $18.13. We're just all agreeing on that, and then $16 and some change. So it's almost double. It's like 1.8. I gave a conservative idea of 1.8 as a factor instead of 1.9, which is closer to, or almost 2, some longer decimal point from 1.9. But just doing 1.8, if you adjust for inflation, then you see what Man of Steel's numbers are doing against, current movies, and including Superman. All right, 2025. Now, neither one of these movies, especially not Superman, 2025, but Man of Steel is not eclipsing or doing better than uh, Superman the movie 1978. Adjusted for inflation, is like $1.4 billion is the box office worldwide, I believe, and most of that domestic, if I'm not mistaken. I may have to ask Grok. He may be able to look up some information that I missed. But yeah, we're not touching that uh, with either of these movies. I'm not trying to claim that. But the movie was successful. Man of Steel was successful. And let me see if I can. I may have to do this. Is go to Grace Randolph's channel and look up. Yeah, I think this is the way to do it. I'll do it in real time so you see what I'm doing actually.
Pretty darn good first episode.
I don't think so. And I did not watch it. I just know based on what's being said about it. But we're going to look at Man of Steel movie math. And one of these is going to show up as the first one. Yeah, this was it. And we're going to skip this as soon as they give me a chance. Oh, come on.
Brothers had a decisive and much needed win at the box office. While
Here we go.
critics and audiences were evenly split on believing if Henry Cavill could fly, there was no question that Man of Steel took flight at the box office, debuting at number 1 with 113 million. And while it fell
Okay, she said it was updated to 116 from her 113, and that doesn't include the Thursday numbers, which was 21.
short
And
of the 2D
she deals
debuts
with that
of
in
Dark
another
Knight and
video,
Dark
I
Knight
think.
Rises, as well as the Avengers, it was close to double the debuts of both Thor and Captain America. It broke the record for the month of June and came in at number 18 on the list.
You heard that? It was double. Nearly double Thor and Captain America. It's pretty interesting.
And Captain America. It broke the record for the month of June and came in at number 8.
By the way, the worldwide box office at the time that she was talking about, fifth week, 520 million, and continued on to 670 million dollars and change something. It depends if you look at the numbers, and if you look at Box Office Mojo, they have different numbers for the different totals. So you can check that out for yourself, though.
18 on the list of all-time opening weekends. As for 2013, it was the second biggest
Number
opening
15,
after Iron Man 3. Now, time to ask some important questions. 1. Does this debut indicate the audience stamp of approval flying in the face of that nasty?
There we go. Just for people out there that need to see this too, that is an 82% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes when it came out. The people that were watching it and reviewing it gave it 82%. This was back when Rotten Tomatoes was not splitting it up into verified audience, this fake audience, and stuff like that, and blah, 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 blah. And I showed you in the video the other day, I did it in real time, that I put my review up for Superman on Rotten Tomatoes. They took it down before the video was over. Okay, so within 2 hours, they are taking down people's reviews of Superman from 2025, probably because it's showing something negative to it. They have a few up there. If you go scrolling through, you'll find a few they either scraggled by or they knew that they couldn't get away with every single one of them being some kind of high score. And so they had to include a few that were negative to lower that to a supposedly believable amount. Okay? But yeah, I don't believe it. It's like 72%. If I'm not mistaken, it was 72 or 71%. No, maybe I'm off on that. That might be the critics' score, because the critics' score is lower than the audience score. But they're refusing to show a verified. I'm verified. Oh my goodness, I've seen the movie over 6 times. So why would I not be a verified audience, you know? But yeah, uh, Rotten Tomatoes is fraudulent. But yeah, that 56% is again people saying uh, that they didn't like it as much, so they gave it a lower score, and then the other crowd of the critics gave it a score the same or higher than they're giving Superman now. Okay, the audience score. Sorry about the interruption. Looking again, we're just looking at her imagery of the uh, tomato meter. Now, I admit freely that a few days later, I have some shots from, I want to say it's like, maybe it might be the next week or something like that. But after a little while, there's some audience scores that jump up in there that are kind of taking on the bandwagon of criticism, which is really weird because this is kind of where I remember this stuff jumping into the realm. And it goes down to about 76 or 77%, somewhere in that, but 75 or above, and that's where it is now. Now, I've heard people say that it's artificially higher than it was before. That is where I'm trying to tell you. This is what I saw when I, was watching back then. This is what was going on. This is what was happening. So there you go. It's you know it was 56% by the critics and 82% by the fans, and maybe dropped 5% by fans. But if you go and read these reviews, I was reading them, and I have written a couple of small booklet size things of rebuttals and refutations and basic explanations for some of these things that I call ridiculous criticisms. But again, I'm not trying to um, tout Man of Steel as so much better than Superman. I'm not doing that, but it is, and it made more, and it was more successful. It is more successful. It remains that way. It remains very high on the list, if you
This time,
will. I wanted to fix her eyes for a second. um, it remains very high on the list of viewed movies. I can go back and watch it and enjoy it immensely again. I can do that today. Uh, and same with Batman v Superman, the Ultimate Edition, of course, and Zack Snyder's Justice League. And I can go and enjoy Aquaman, and I can enjoy Wonder Woman, and continue with these dreams that one of these days, and I can even enjoy Suicide Squad. I know people don't like to admit that but it made a good amount of money, and that's not just because it rides on the coattails of another film. Okay, it's got to be a good movie in itself to sort of do that. Um, for example, Iron Man 3 rides on the coattails of Avengers and makes a good amount of money, but it was a good film in itself and enjoyable, even if it did not give you the Mandalorian of the comics. Mandalorian? Is that? Yeah, I think that's correct. Um, it's been a while since I've gone back to watch that, but it was an enjoyable movie. It was going forward with the character. It was making points and doing things that were, you know, good idea, great idea, in fact, and something to carry on. So, yes, it was riding the coattails, but let me give you this. We're gonna just look up a couple of other things here. So we got Iron Man 3, and that came out in 2013. It was on the box office stuff there. And then, what was Ant-Man? Ant-Man was 2015. What was before Ant-Man? Is it Avengers Age of Ultron? 2015 came out right before Ant-Man, if I'm not mistaken. Avengers Age of Ultron, and I think Ant-Man was a decent movie, but Avengers Age of Ultron is a $1.4 billion movie. All right. Now we're going to go back to Ant-Man. And it was a $500,000 or $500 million, 500 million. So you see, it was just less. I think they were putting too much faith into Ant-Man in some of the films they were releasing with them at the time. But now I'm commenting on the Marvel movies and not getting into all that. Not my desire to jump into all of that. But yeah, riding the coattails again of another movie that was successful is not in itself going to guarantee, anything like that. Now let me double check this because somebody's going to say you didn't make sure. July 17th, 2015. So we go back to Age of Ultron. And the release of Age of Ultron was, April. So again, coattails. That's what I was talking about. The domestic is almost as much as the worldwide of Ant-Man. So again, that's just a comparison. And it's just, again, you don't necessarily have to have a good movie to make a lot of money, but generally speaking, it's got to be enjoyable, an enjoyable movie in some way, shape, form, or fashion. I can tell you that I do not believe that the Minecraft movie is a good movie, nor is it extremely enjoyable for me, because I'm not a big fan of Minecraft, and I'm not against you, against my children sitting there playing around on Minecraft all the time, but not really against people that want to play Minecraft. But it has a huge following for many, many, many years. That was I don't remember when it first came out, but I know it came out a long while ago. Okay, and the graphics were definitely out when I was a child. So it didn't make sense when I saw that kind of graphics come back up. I would never jumped into Minecraft. That's where I am. Maybe I'm the one that's wrong for that, but and I might enjoy Minecraft myself if I wanted to waste millions and millions of hours for some stupid reason digging holes in the dirt and putting trees in places. Whatever it is. I don't want to alienate the Minecraft viewers. I'm joking with you. Have fun with what you want. It just never appealed to me. But I can say, watching the movie, I watched the movie. I thought there's a lot of dumb nonsense in this, really stupid things, and this doesn't really make sense to me. But I guess these other people, it would make sense to them. And the fans, it may make a lot of sense to them. However, there was fun in it in different ways, and there was an interesting look in it too, and it also didn't look quite like the game, so I could find a little more appeal to that. But the movie made almost $1 billion worldwide because of what it is. Okay, and as ridiculous as some things were in it, even some of those things were fun to see happen, humorous or whatever, and having a measure of entertaining quality, and so therefore that was it. That's why it makes money. It's got to have an entertainment value to it. Sometimes really good movies don't necessarily have a lot of entertainment value to them, and so they don't make a lot of money, even though they will be over time possibly watched more than these movies that are blockbusters. A movie that has a better story uh, will endure over time and be watched again and again. People will find it and it'll become generational and things like that. Whereas, I don't remember the last time that I turned on a Marvel movie. My son would turn on the Spider-Man movies because he enjoys doing that, and I don't dislike the Spider-Man movies, but I don't remember the last time I turned on a Marvel movie in the house. Went to Thunderbolts, went to Captain America. I show up and try to enjoy what I see, but I don't, like I said, I don't remember the last time. And if I did turn one on, I may lean toward the Incredible Hulk, or Thor, um, maybe Thor: The Dark World, um, or any one of those. I have an affinity toward Thor, but mainly the earlier ones, not necessarily Iron Man. Although I might watch that again. I'm probably going to go ahead and turn them all on and watch through all of them at some point. Um, but yeah, I would lean toward that the characters that I typically enjoy a great deal, and today's, they don't appeal like that. I would have loved to have been able to say, Thunderbolts and Captain America, Brave New World are both so great that I went to the theater just day after day to watch them over and over and over again. But that's not the case. They went downhill in quality a long time ago. I'm talking about quality, not because of quantity, but because of decisions that the studio made. And the same studio type people are in the DC world right now, and they are the ones making the decisions. They are continuing on in the wrong decision making categories. And that's my opinion as to why these things are going on and how the story has changed from Superman's going to make $1 billion to now, oh, we're really satisfied that it went over 500 million. We made plenty, and it's probably over 600 million right now. We're good and satisfied. It doesn't even have to get numbers worldwide more than Man of Steel because we beat Man of Steel domestically, which still you didn't, with adjustments for inflation, for the price of tickets, just simply the price of tickets. And again, my experience in the theater that there was less people there than the tickets that were claimed to be sold. That just lends itself toward the conspiracy theories that float around out there, and it is what it is. We're gonna close it out though. We've already got this broken up one time. We don't want to break it up again or anything. But I just wanted to point that out. The narrative version kind of changed. They weren't expecting Man of Steel to do very well or spectacularly, and then it turns out it did better than they were thinking it was going to do. But we also see that they estimated a little bit better back then because they were, again, thinking closer to 200 million for the new Superman, and with early screening stuff, it only made 125 million, and that's in today's age. We're talking about $16 a ticket. Now you look up the amount of tickets sold for 16. That's less than 10 million tickets by far. Okay. So that's just a quick comparison that you can do to see what's going on and what ticket sales were like then, what ticket sales are like now. And I think it may be better to look at ticket sales than it is to look at total sales, dollar sales, Because then we can quit talking about inflation. Why would we need to talk about inflation? We're talking about eyes that looked at it. Then we'll have to deal with a conspiracy theory that people are buying tickets and not showing up. And why would they do something like that? My memory going to the movie theaters back then with Man of Steel, it said it was sold out. And my goodness, I had to find my seat. And there it was, next to a person that I didn't know. I didn't have space beside me because we didn't all want to sit next to each other. That's the way it is now, though. We have plenty of room to walk around. And it's not just for this movie. The other movies I've been going to, I've been wondering why these seats are empty here. Maybe people are booking them and they just aren't showing up. But it's just a different thing. Nevertheless, whatever the case is, whatever's going on, I'm just talking more about the spirit of the narrative. The spirit of the narrative is different, and it's sad. And I think for me anyway, my notice of it started then with the criticism of Man of Steel that didn't merit that sort of hatred. Even if they didn't like a couple little things, there was some realm of hatred, and it seemed to be the ramping up of the controversy between Marvel versus DC. I don't, why you can't be a fan of both, who knows? But they had to get into a rivalry, and it could be a fun rivalry, which always was like more growing up or something. Your friends, you have rivalries like that. It's just a fun rivalry. My stuff is better than yours. I kind of enjoy what you did right there. That was kind of cool. That's really neat right there. But mine's better than yours. And that rivalry is all right. And, there's no problem with that. When it gets vicious and hateful, oh my goodness, what's the point of that? Come on now. And don't do things like that. Vicious and hateful, unless somebody really deserves, hatefulness, as it were, or heavy criticism at least. Um, we know who we might do that to, but nevertheless, there's where it is. Let's change the spirit of this, all of this. Don't go defending things that can't be defended. Just say what you got. You know, make your point as to success and stuff, and don't make the comparison. I'm coming out defending Man of Steel because people are attacking Man of Steel. Like, why are you attacking Man of Steel? Stop doing that. Compare it to some other movie. Why? Because they're both Superman. And they got to make a point, right? There's no point in that. I am all for leaving things sort of like they are now, except for adding in, if they would do this, WB would do it. I've said it before. Add in the restoring the Snyderverse in a way. We can talk about the different ways to do it. Bring back Henry Cavill. Let him make a couple, 3 Superman movies, and show what his vision was for the things, what they were planning on doing, and let that happen. Release the Schumacher cut, and release the Ayer cut, and release the Gunn cut while you're at it of Superman 2025. I want to see all this stuff. I want to see the extended version. I want to see all the deleted scenes. Hopefully we'll be able to get that when the disc comes out next month, I believe. Either September or October time. I'm not sure what they said the release date was for that. Whatever it is, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for you to put content out there that we can consume. And you are Warner Brothers and Discovery, David Zaslav. I know y'all ain't listening to me, but if you were listening to me, or anybody is that knows how to get a hold of their ear and just say something to them, say the simplest thing to them. If you give us something that we will enjoy, we will eat it up. We will be the consumer. We are not consuming things. I may have watched the Superman movie 6 times and more, but I am not digging it. I am not going to buy the toys. I am a toy collector for these kind of these sorts of toys, the McFarlane toys and stuff like that for these movies. I even got the things from Suicide Squad. Took a little while for me to want to really get that, but I even would get that. I got those, but I'm not getting Superman ones, and I've been only slightly tempted by a couple of the characters. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. Maybe I get that. Nah, I don't really want to do it. And they've been marked down. Nobody's buying them. People are not buying these things. I'm not buying them. And like I said, I would get things just because I got them. I got the Blue Beetle set of stuff because I wanted it. You know, just the coolness of the designs and stuff like that. It wasn't that I rampantly loved the movie, you know, and we could talk about Blue Beetle another time. But yeah, it's just put out stuff that we can enjoy. That's what you need to do. WB. All right. Somebody get that message to them. They need to put out things that we will want to come and watch. And we'll come and watch it. We'll buy up the DVDs or the Blu-rays, preferably. You put it on Blu-ray or the 4Ks so that we can see, in good form. Like I said, these older stuff. But especially, hey, hashtag release the air cut. What in the world are y'all waiting on? I mean, come on. You can spend a bunch of money to change a scene at the beginning of a show to retcon the previous year of the show, the first season, to get rid of the Justice League out of Peacemaker. You can do that. I don't know how much you spent, but you spent plenty. Okay? To make a new scene and replace it. Here we go. And it's just going to be a point of contention from here on out. And I don't mind that you did. I'd rather it be disassociated from that piece of garbage called the Peacemaker. You know, that's my position. So good on you for it. But anyway, I've got to get out of here. We got to get done. We'll see you in another video. Check them out. There's some reviews and stuff I'm trying to get up. Bye.